let's talk about Trey Lance. You saw him twice. He had 2 really efficient days in terms of completion percentage. Threw a pick today. Kyle Shanahan, over 5 years with Jimmy Garoppolo, developed a really good feel for how to highlight his strengths and minimize his weaknesses. How do you think is the optimum? What is the optimum way to do that for Trey Lance at this stage in his career, in your opinion?
As far as,
well, I mean, what routes would you be calling less frequently?
Yeah,
for him at this point, and what would you be calling more frequently, given his,
Yeah,
issues?
I think what we've seen is Trey Lance is comfortable in the pocket more than people give him credit for. I think they look at him as being the athlete and he can run, and so he can't be in the pocket. I think we've seen that if he's feeling pressure, he'll set his feet and go. That being said, I have no problem. I don't want him to avoid the middle, but I think that getting him in rhythm, getting him outside the pocket just to get in rhythm on those short throws, but then when he needs to set up, I like his touch pushing the ball downfield. I like what he's doing on the sideline. I think we saw that in Arizona. We saw that against Houston last year. I feel like, and I think you alluded to this before when we were chatting about, there's that the picks that we saw from Jimmy usually came over the middle, and Jimmy and Trey aren't the same guy. But I think that sometimes Trey trusts his arm strength a little bit. Maybe today, like even sometimes there's, I don't know if it was too much zip. It was deflected. Ayuk got his hands on it, but I'd probably stay out of traffic. And
that's
Kyle,
exactly what I was gonna say. Traffic.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you couldn't keep him out of traffic because there was only so much of the field he could throw into. But with Lance, I don't think there's any reason early on to have him forcing passes into traffic. He could throw over the middle if it's one-on-one, but it seems like with his arm and all the different weapons you have, you should be able to find a one-on-one low-risk throw. And I think one of the reasons they were working on the deep out so much this offseason is it's a low-risk throw. If you miss it, it's incomplete, out of bounds. Yep. If you miss the dig over the middle, it's a pick like today. Because if you miss it short, the linebacker picks it off. You miss it long, the safety picks it off. If you throw it behind the receiver, the corner picks it off. It's tough. That's what the interception was today.
It's tough, and I know we're going to talk about some pressure that he was facing today. I will also say that in joint practices, you did not see Kyle open up his bag of tricks at all.
No,
there was no misdirection. There was no decoy with Debo. There was
no pistol.
Anybody in motion. You didn't see people cry. Like it there, and
all the triple option stuff they were working on last week, they didn't show to the Vikings.
Right, and that's by design. It almost made me feel like Kyle was the one that told the Vikings staff to tell people not to take videos because he's so paranoid about things like that. And I honestly.
No. I think it was the Vikings because he's a first-year coach. The first-year coaches are always the most insecure.
I know. It was tongue in cheek. But no, I agree. And and they're cut from the same cloth. They're in that kind of same tree. So I think that's where I take a step back and realize that Kyle knows the installs he wants. And to your point, I don't think he's going to protect or shield Trey Lance from ever making a mistake. But I think he's going to put him in a position to get in rhythm, get those safe throws, but be able to push the ball. And I think quick hitters across the middle are really valuable to the 49ers, though. Yeah. I mean, the yak yards, a lot of that is where that comes from. I just think that we'll see how it goes.
You don't need to force it, though. Like, there are ways to manufacture clean looks, but there's no reason to force. Because the Niners have already said their mission statement this year is they're going to carry Lance. They're good enough to carry Lance. What did Nick Bosa say? He just has to not make the big mistake. Well, don't put him in positions where a big mistake is where he's prone to it. Because you've seen he's not the most precise passer. That dig over the middle you really got to throw the ball out in front. It's hard. Jimmy could do it sometimes. Lance is a little bit scattershot with it, so don't call it that much, especially if it's cover one and it's like it's not open. Just saying.
And I think where he also, we even saw a play today that Ayuk, the very next play, I think it was after that, they were just doing situational. It wasn't just, teams weren't turning the ball over back and forth. It was that, going to the sideline, reminiscent of a throw that he might have had to make against Arizona. We even saw the throw to Danny Gray, which was the tad off against the Packers. He's comfortable making those throws. And I feel like more often than not, he's not putting those in harm's way. I really feel like that's, and so unfortunately Ayuk didn't haul that one in today, but
so the best way to hide Lance's flaws is sort of the way what the Viking. Just a second. Sorry, housekeeping.
Oh, why? What are you ordering?
Nothing. I'll just get my room clean.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so what Philly does with Jalen Hurts is they call a lot of deep shots and sideline passes. Those are low percentage throws, but they're also throws that don't get picked very often.
Yep.
So that's a good way. But the other thing I noticed with Lance, and it's a bugaboo of mine, he'll fix it eventually, is the checkdowns. You saw it today with the Jeff Wilson over his head. He does that too much. Oh, like way over the head. So I don't know if you don't need to give him a check down all the time because he's his check down. It was with how often did Kaepernick check down? If it's not there, Kaepernick's running, and that's 10 yards. So that may be something they adjust. That you may see some design throws to running backs, screens, angle routes out of the backfield, but the off your back foot, last option, throw to the flat, maybe not so much. Maybe
he had a couple today.
Yeah. He hit Sermon, right? Hit Sermon.
Yes, Trey Sermon. They picked up a first down on a 3rd and short, and it was. And this is the thing, though. What I have seen with Trey is he does seem to not give up too quickly, but he also he more often than not, that was the only turnover worthy throw in 2 practices. It felt like, where there was the pick, and it does feel like he's going through progressions quickly, and he said, you know what? Then I'm going to the check. I don't feel like this is the thing. Any of the sacks that he took today, I really didn't feel was a byproduct of like the Justin Fields effect, where the Russell Wilson, where you're holding the ball, trying to be a hero. I do think that's
Lamar Jackson too, frankly.
Well, yeah,
Lamar Jackson, yeah.
And honestly, Grant, that's a huge sign of the maturity that he has as a quarterback. And I think
that's a big flaw in mobile quarterbacks. If you're running into sacks, how valuable is your mobility really? And with Lance, it seems like you saw it last year. He got sacked less frequently than Jimmy, despite holding the ball longer.
Well, interestingly enough, the other guy that Kyle alleges now that that Mac was the guy that he was interested in. Everybody was talking about Mac's sidestep and his ability, his functional mobility in the pocket. And actually, that's really what I've been more impressed with Lance lately. Is it's not all this crazy running; it's that functional mobility, pocket awareness, holding onto the ball security. Live to see another day. And today, that throw, he was trying to do a little bit. It just, you're going to make mistakes.
So the best way to hide Lance's flaws, run him frequently. You're going to see a lot of what David, thank you for becoming a member. Zachary says that triple option will be a quad option because Lance will have the opportunity to throw it downfield too. Yeah, just imagine. Okay, so you got Lance handing off on the dive, or Lance holding it, running and pitching to Debo, or keeping it, running himself, or stopping, setting up, throwing downfield to Danny Gray. You can do all that. Yep. Sounds like a lot of fun. And again, there's no other offense like this in the league, so preparing for the Niners will be tricky.
And you got a flavor of it today. They did actually do a design QB keeper where it looked like that zone read, and then he was out, and he gained, it was an easy first down on I don't remember what down it was. It was a 10-yard to go situation. And the thing is, when Kyle just peppers that in, even if it's once a game where you do that particular play, it can be a killer. And so this is the thing we haven't seen. We get into analyzing practices and we try to see what, you can look at nitpick and these other things. But I think when Kyle gets his full install on September 11th, I think that's when people are really going to see the entire package that Trey Lance brings. And I think people are sleeping on it.
One thing, and then we'll move on from Lance. One thing that's really impressive about him that you couldn't see at North Dakota State because their offensive line was so great and he was never under pressure is how well he does against pressure. Yeah. It's really good. I mean, he's not flustered. He's calm. He's calm. He steps up. He doesn't try to spin out of it. He's really a natural. It's quite impressive. And you didn't see that on tape at all.
No, and I think that's the big thing. He really is, not to beat the metaphor, but he's just a cool customer, man. He's not a guy that and he, in his interviews, he's the same. He kind of has that same mentality. Like he just legitimately does not really seem to care what people think. On the field, it seems like he has a short memory, and that's encouraging. Yeah.
And it's funny. You can kind of feel you were mentioning confidence. You can kind of get a sense of an athlete's confidence. I like Kellen Mond coming out. I never saw Kellen Mond in person. I'm watching him today. I've seen Kellen Mond now. I've seen him. I've seen Lance. Lance is just dripping with confidence. Mm-hmm. Kellen Mond has none. I mean, the ball comes out of his hand beautifully. He's a good athlete. Dude, every time he drops back, it's like, scramble. It's like, oh man,
Yep.
Kellen. But maybe he's just not a naturally confident athlete at this level, the way Trey Lance is. And it's like, where did you get this confidence, Trey? In Marshall, Minnesota?
Hey man, and it's like that. I'm glad you brought up the footwork, because that's where you see, the helmets on. You don't see their facial. It's like the feet tell you everything about confidence to me, and I think that's where Kellen Mond. As soon as he gets a modicum of pressure, he's out. Like even the sacks that Trey Lance took today, he wasn't around there like, holding the ball out wide or like just like head on. He stays within structure, and it's all good. Those good things will come.